Hello, I'm Bob Ganzak, and this is Motivation U, the podcast. Welcome to Motivation U, the podcast. Again, my name is Bob Ganzak, and we're coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, which is located at Celebration Point, exit 384 off of I-75 in Gainesville, Florida. Wonderful, wonderful place to be. We're inside the coach's podcast room, his own little place with all of our helmets behind us and just enjoying the day. Every week, I kind of give you an opinion of some of the things that are on my mind, and I've really decided to change that thought process and just call it one man's opinion. Now, over the past couple of weeks, I have been inundated with text messages and emails because a few weeks ago, I said that I hoped the University of Florida hired their new football coach and that it would be Billy Napier. And it was, and I was excited. And now people are saying, what's going on? We have players leaving the program. What is he doing? He's not fit for this job. Well, let me share with you why I think that this was a great hire. I don't know anything about Coach, about his X's and O's. Nothing. I really don't. It's all about the things that he says about building structure. You see, when we look at building a successful team, one of the challenges that we have are the habits that we get involved into. Coach Mullen, an incredible, like a mad scientist on the sidelines with those headphones on, cockeyed, and he's working up solutions to problems that are going on the field. Just a total mad scientist type of person. Great mid-level manager. I never saw him as a CEO. He was always going to be able to figure out things, and outcome-based success would happen on occasion. Yet the system that had been built could not withstand the challenges that may happen in other times. And that is a huge part of success. What is your system? When I look at Nick Saban and what he has built, Nick Saban wasn't successful at Michigan State many years ago. He hadn't figured out his system yet. He was a pretty darn good coach, great defensive mind. Yet even that wasn't good enough until he figured out the system. Bill Belichick, another great football coach, maybe the greatest football coach ever. When he was with the Cleveland Browns, didn't work. It didn't work. He had a great defensive mind, yet he had not figured out his system. And there's three forms of habits that we need to build on. One is an outcome-based habit, one is a system habit, and another is your beliefs habit. And all of those go together. And what I see in Billy Napier is that he has a system. Now, why are kids leaving? Well, you know what? Not everybody fits into the system. They may look at something and say, uh-oh, I'm not sure that I want to be that type of person. Again, I always bring up Coach John Wooden from UCLA. How would you like to be a person being recruited to the number one basketball school in the country at the time, and day one, you're learning how to tie your shoes, and you're learning how to put your socks on? That's what Coach Wooden did, because he was letting people know that the attention to detail was going to be dynamic in their world. His system was this. And that's what I see with Coach Napier. So he might not be the person that you envisioned in your mind. Give him time. Let him build his own team. Let him bring in coaches that can support that. Maybe he won't be the mad scientist that Coach Mullen was, that can figure out schemes to beat any defense. Yet we saw where that took us. 1 year ago, we almost won the SEC championship. One of the greatest football games that I've seen played, Alabama and Florida. Yet 1 year later, we had a new coach. Because when you're just outcome-based, some of those schemes can win you a game. Some of those schemes can keep you close in games. When it comes down to it, though, it's the mass of your system that is going to determine how successful your program is. Let Coach build his program. Let's evaluate it in 3 years. Let's not worry about the first game out of the box or some of the kids that decide to leave. I'm a huge University of Michigan fan. One of the things in that locker room is a sign that says, "Those who stay will be champions." I love the Gators too. I believe with Coach Napier, those who stay will be champions. We'll be back with you in just a moment with our guest, James Gadsby, and we're going to have a great time. This is Motivation U, the podcast.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Looking for more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Les Macarons, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Hi, Steve Spurrier here. Making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, a number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Welcome back to Motivation U, the podcast from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill here at Celebration Point inside the Coach's Podcast Room. My name is Bob Ganzak, and with me today is my guest, Mr. James Gadsby. Welcome, James.
Thanks so much, Bob. Glad to be here.
I am so glad to have you here. It's been a couple of weeks since we connected, and Freddie connected us together to talk, and I'm excited. Now, as I was sharing with you off air, this program's about leadership, and it's about the fact that you don't have to have one of these big names or be a trillionaire in order to be a great leader. And great leaders are people that move the needle within our own communities. They might live next door to you or down the street. They might be running the Dollar General or the Kilwins across the street. Who knows? That is the mindset of this podcast. And as I look at your background, from nonprofit to the public sector and all different types of experiences, where did you develop your leadership thought process? Where did it start and how did it evolve?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about my journey, and leadership has always been an important topic for me personally, and I think even as a young man growing up, seeing different leaders, whether through school, whether through I was involved in Boy Scouts and Eagle Scout, and so developing leadership was always something that was a focus. And then through high school, different leadership opportunities with student council and Key Club and those type of activities, and same thing through college. It's just something that I think has been a part of my DNA. But seeing it from those around me and learning from leaders that I really admired, I always appreciated the remark of watching those that you really admire their leadership style and trying to learn and absorb the types of things that they do. Much like you were talking with Coach Napier and developing that structure, right? So a lot of that, in my mind, is the ability to absorb the things that work within your personality, within your style, that help you develop kind of what you become as a leader in whatever role or capacity it might be, whether at home, in the office, in volunteer work, all of those types of things.
Was there a person in your world that kind of sits above all of the other leaders that influenced you or changed your world?
Gosh, that's a tough question to narrow it down to one, but certainly there are many. For me, from a faith standpoint, the servant leader that Jesus was throughout Scripture is really an anchor for me in that aspect. But I also had just so many great leaders that I admired and respected. Early in my career at Home Depot, several of our leaders, our director of information technology, when I started, Ron Griffin, one of my vice presidents later, Danny Branch, others that really helped shape me as I grew in my career from a corporate standpoint and leading teams and organizations. So those were some of the folks that early on in my young adult life really helped shape my leadership. But I think, again, ultimately, to me, it comes back to just the servant leader that Jesus modeled, and that's something that I strive to do every day and fail often. But it's such a great aspiration just to look to that.
Mm-hmm. I've always looked at leadership. You say failed often. I don't know if you've ever bowled where they put the bumpers in the gutters.
Oh yeah,
and that's kind of like my thought of helping people lead. You got to let them go down the lane, and then when they get off target and just before they fall into the gutter, you kind of nudge them back into the center of the lane and keep them going and going. And that's always been that analogy that it was just that for me, and it's kind of what you're saying. We all fall off the side once in a while, and there has to be something to bring us back to that middle. Talk about the Eagle Scouts. What are some of the values that you learned in that experience as a young man that today, as a little older young man, you continue to utilize in your life?
Yeah. Well, scouting early on was a big influence as I was a teen, kind of growing up into young adulthood, and the values that scouting taught regarding honor and being trustworthy and loyal, all those types of things that are part of the Scout law, the Scout motto, in helping, growing through leadership roles within the Scout troop, right? And so you have the opportunity to become an assistant patrol leader, then a patrol leader, and then leading the whole troop as a Scout. It was just kind of built into the process of how they developed and grew young men. In addition to learning things like camping and civic service and all those types of things. The structure of it did have leadership aspects and allowed young men to grow and experience what it meant to lead those that were junior to them.
Mm-hmm. Now the criteria, you had mentioned that you're an Eagle Scout. The criteria to reach that plateau or pinnacle or the peak of what scouting is, what does a scout have to go through to get to that point?
Yeah, well, there's, generally a typical scout will journey through a number of years, 6 years of scouting. And there are a number of different ranks. So you start as a scout, and just a plain scout, and then move your way up to tenderfoot and second class, first class, then life, then eagle, I think is the path, if I remember it correctly. And so you work through a series of merit badges and other opportunities to develop, the ability to grow into those different ranks. Much of that, I think, just based on kind of military process and those types of things. But throughout that journey, you also have review boards where you meet with the scout master and assistant scout masters, and maybe the senior patrol leader and those that maybe some of your leader peers. As you go through each rank to talk to you about the process and what you learned, how you grew and developed, and what you're looking to do. So throughout that whole journey, it was just a lot of reinforcement as you're developing, again, as a young man, learning how to lead.
I love the word you use, the journey, because life is a journey.
Yes.
It's every day. I can't do anything about yesterday, and really, what I do today impacts tomorrow. Yet the only thing I can really control is today, right now. And going through that, and that kind of leads to that journey. And you've had an interesting journey too that I'd like to touch on in some of the business aspects. And right now, your role is executive director of the Werfel Foundation.
That's right.
Danny Werfel's foundation. How did you get involved in that? And what is the mission of the foundation?
Yeah. Well, thanks for the opportunity to share about that. So the mission of the organization is simply to inspire greater service and unity in the world, and that's kind of Danny's life mission. And for those that are familiar with him, particularly for Gator fans that will know his story and history, Danny's somebody that always has been not only a great leader, but also somebody that's very selfless and very humble in how he leads. And his decision to choose to go into service after his football career is an inspiration in and of itself. The Werfel Trophy, which has been around for 15 years now, the winner actually be announced on ESPN College Football Awards show this evening. So you can tune in to see some amazing young men doing great community service all over the country. And for Danny, I think getting to this point of his history. Of founding or developing the foundation last year, and he asked me to be executive director of that organization based on the work that we've done at Desire Street Ministries. So many people will know Danny's involvement as our executive director of Desire Street for the last 15 years. So he's given his life to serving those that are leading in under-resourced communities for 15 years now. And so really just a true model of what it means to be a servant leader. And certainly his platform gives him the ability to inspire others to do the same, and so that's what the foundation is choosing to do, and again, that's based on just the relationship that I developed with Danny through Desire Street in prior years.
Talk to me about Desire Street, and what is the background of that, and how did Danny get involved in that? How did you get involved in that?
Yeah. So, like many people, my wife and I met here at the University of Florida as undergrad students, and we're a few years older than Danny. So, we got to cheer him on as alumni during his time as a Gator, and like many people, we just really admired the way that he carried himself on and off the field. the way that he honored God through the platform he was given. And so we early on we became supporters of Desire Street. When he got involved, he started volunteering there when he was drafted by the New Orleans Saints. The organization was founded by Mo and Ellen Leverett in the Ninth Ward of New Orleans in 1990, and Danny arrived in '97, and people told him about it, so he wanted to get plugged in locally and serve, and fell in love with the mission and the kids, and helping create opportunities for people in under-resourced communities. And so that's kind of the history of how he got involved. And then after his football career, just saying he felt God calling him to do this full time, to give his life to serving. And of course, Hurricane Katrina disrupted everything in 2005 by destroying the ministry, and Danny and Jessica lost their home. But throughout it all, Elizabeth and I felt compelled to support the ministry. When Danny moved the headquarters to Atlanta in 2009, we got involved locally. And for us, seeing the leaders that Desire Street was partnering with, that were living and serving in under-resourced communities, it just opened our eyes and our heart to these amazing heroes. And we talk about leadership, people that live and serve in ways and capacities where there's really no bright spotlights, no news media coverage, nothing. They just are loving their neighbor and serving their neighbor. And so they truly are our inspiration as leaders. And then Danny asked if we joined the board, and so served on the board for about 6 years when I was still working at Home Depot. And then in 2015, I was having lunch with him one day and shared that I just kind of felt God stirring in me to give the rest of my career to something more purposeful. As I tell people, there's nothing wrong with selling hammers, and I loved my career at Home Depot, an amazing company with tremendous culture and opportunity, and was very grateful for that. But I just felt like, there was something in me stirring, that there was something different and more for me to do. And he kind of laughed and said, "Well, come join the team. I need a COO as we're growing the ministry. He needed somebody that could bring in some structure and process from a corporate background." And so that's kind of what led to my journey of just step by step, starting as a donor, getting involved, volunteering, serving on the board, and then I had no idea I would become a staff member, but decided to hang up my corporate hat. Back in 2015, and I've continued serving as our COO at Desire Street in addition. So it's been an amazing journey.
COO at Desire Street, CEO or executive director at, similarities and differences in the two roles.
Yeah. Well, Desire Street is a 30-plus-year-old organization now. So the structure and process and a lot of what's been put in place has been great to build off of, and really to get to the point where Danny felt like he had capacity to kind of step into this next chapter of widening the aperture from his ability to leverage his platform. So in the midst of the pandemic last year in 2020, we felt, okay, let's go ahead and launch the foundation, and he's got some capacity. A lot of the systems and automation and other things that I've been able to help bring to the team, and the amazing abilities of our team to develop, and operate in such a way that it freed up some time for both of us to kind of start to plug in. So that's still more part-time. And Desire Street, though, is, again, just our team and our partners and coaches and all inspire us daily. But the differences are really maturity level of Desire Street is very mature. Werfel Foundation, we're still kind of got the training wheels on. We're getting this thing up and going, but leveraging Danny's platform in a broader context beyond just our Desire Street partners or just Werfel Trophy winners, but being able to amplify stories of people doing amazing and great work.
How do you see your role as a leader, as executive director? If you were to paint a picture of what your leadership style is, what would that look like?
Well, I love working within a team, and so with both our Desire Street team and the foundation, working with amazing people with incredible talent, that inspires me, and being able to leverage that and allow people to to run with their talents and skills, and within small teams like that as well, people have to wear many hats oftentimes, and so the ability to be flexible and lead in different capacities often presents itself for everybody, and that certainly includes me, and as our executive director of the foundation, really just working with our board and our team and Danny to chart the path as we're still kind of, again, learning the way as a new organization, a startup, if you will, versus a 30-year-old nonprofit that's just running amazingly, and our partners doing incredible work. So those are the main differences, I would say, at this point.
That's interesting. One of the things that has always driven me in my mentality, and one of the quotes that I always talked about, I don't know where I came up with it, but is hire talented people and let them be talented. And we tend to hire people, and we go through the interview process and we meet with them and everything else, and all of the things we love about that individual to bring them on our team, and when they get on our team, we try to change them. And it's like, no, I know you are a round peg, but I'm going to make you a triangle now, okay? and that's something. So we do have some questions. Something that I am remiss at is I forget to tell people that they can go to Facebook Live and ask us questions, and I tend to forget that. So I appreciate Evan putting the question right here on the screen for me to say, Bob, you need to do that. So the Facebook question is, how do we reach or contact Desire Ministries?
Yeah. So the easiest way to get in touch with us or learn more about the work that we do is to go to desirestreet.org. It's just Desire Street, both words spelled out, .org. And you can see the work of our partners, the different communities. We basically have partners in a number of different cities across the South, from Dallas, Texas to Orlando, Florida. None here in Gainesville yet, but we'll see someday maybe. So what part of what our hope is in serving our leaders, we basically provide coaching and caring for these leaders that are living and serving, raising young families in an environment that is very challenging. And so our hope is to help them develop thriving, sustainable organizations that can fulfill their missions. So they're all their own independent 501c3 nonprofits. What we do is come alongside in partnership to pour into these leaders and help develop them over a 3 to 5 year period. And again, we have links to all of our partner pages. So our hope is that people will fall in love with the mission that they're doing. Maybe if somebody lives in a certain city where we have a ministry partner, they can plug in locally and mentor, tutor, volunteer, whatever, different ways, or even give and support those organizations as well.
Can you give us that website again?
Yes.
That they can go to?
It's desirestreet.org. So DESIRESTREET.org.
Okay.
Desirestreet.org.
Desirestreet.org. And how do we participate in any Desire Street fundraisers?
Yeah. Well, we typically have, and of course the past couple of years has been very unique for everybody in many ways, but our main fundraiser each year is what we call the Desire Cup. Okay. And that is a golf tournament that we host in Gala the Thursday night, Friday before the Florida-Georgia game each year. So we just had our 11th one, this about a month ago. We hosted it at Sea Island, and it's always a great time. We have Coach Spurrier comes every year, Coach Dooley. So we have greats from both programs come and enjoy the evening at the gala, and we share about Desire Street. Danny will interview one or two of our ministry partners. Laura Rutledge from SEC Network and ESPN was our MC this year, and so it was fun to hear her interview the two coaches together. And Tim Tebow came by, and so always having Tim's support is great. So it's a lot of fun with a lot of greats from both programs, and then we always have kind of a Ryder Cup style golf matchup to see which team is going to win the Desire Cup each year, and the Gators won that at least, even if they lost the football game. So we were grateful for that. But that's our main fundraiser, and we have what we call a 19th hole, which people that can't come and participate in person, they can also give to support. We raise, in addition to sponsorships and auctions and those types of things, we raise an additional $100,000 through that. But when we don't have fundraisers, people can always go and give on the website. We have a donate button, and makes it very easy if you choose to give and support what we're doing.
Do you have a list of other activities that take part during the year for Desire Street on the website?
Yeah. Oftentimes we, and even in addition to the website, through our social media and on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, we provide updates on things we're doing in addition to newsletters. We have a quarterly newsletter, which is just about to go out, and we'll have that posted on our website probably by this afternoon or tomorrow. People can check that out to learn as well. But we have a number of different things that we do throughout the year. In addition to the coaching that we do, which is kind of, continuous throughout the year, we have, folks that have lived and served in these kind of roles for 10, 20 years that kind of shepherd and mentor the next generation of leaders. So they serve as their coach, and they're doing quarterly visits, site visits, and they're regularly every week talking with, encouraging, praying with, helping them navigate the challenges that they may have in these neighborhoods. But then we have retreats that we do throughout the year. Leadership retreat coming up late January that we'll be doing, where we bring the leaders and their spouse together for some training and just time to unplug from the neighborhood. And anytime we can give them a way to step away from the real challenges that they live through and see every day, and then gather together, it's a beautiful thing where they have people that they feel understand them and know them. And again, from a leadership standpoint, giving people the ability to be seen and be known for who they really are is a beautiful thing. Just the transparency and authenticity of the conversations and the relationships. It's so rich that we feel blessed. I love how Chris on our ministry team says Desire Street just kind of sets the table and allows the ministry partners to minister to one another. Just awesome. Because, having somebody there that can share in the difficulties and all, and having a very safe space to be able to talk about that, right? Where they're not feeling the pressure of having to be on, in front of their board or in front of their donors, and even in their neighborhood where people may not understand the burdens that they're dealing with as the leader of that organization and trying to meet all the different needs that those neighborhoods have. It's an incredible thing, and again, just some amazing people who are truly our heroes as leaders.
How do you spread the word of the Werfel Foundation? How do you... I mean, it starts, he was a graduate of the University of Florida. Do you do it through colleges, through other institutions, or how do you get that word spread?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, and since we're still kind of have the training wheels on the foundation as we're launching it, and people can check that out at werfelfoundation.org or just DannyWerfel.com. We have all the different links to Desire Street and the Werfel Trophy and the foundation. DannyWerfel.com, and for those that always have a challenge spelling it, Werffel, Werfel. He gets, as you can imagine, all kinds of different spellings. But
once you get it right, though, you got it for life, right?
That's right. So for the foundation, we haven't tried to broadcast, publicly as the foundation. It is a 501c3 public charity. And so people can support it through donations as well. We've had some very generous donors that have helped provide some seed funding to get the organization up and going. Again, get some of these early structures and processes in place, and help us begin to think about the programming and how to amplify, leveraging Danny's platform. He's a gifted communicator, as I mentioned before, just incredibly humble heart. And so his desire through, whether it be through media, or through video, social media, through speaking, all those types of things to help shine a spotlight on these amazing leaders, much like what you do right here in Gainesville, is helping people become aware of your everyday leader that may not otherwise get that opportunity. And so he really feels that God's given him this platform to leverage for the benefit of others, right? To raise the profile, help other people see the great work they're doing, and for those that feel called, get behind and support that. And so that's our hope through storytelling, through certainly social media and other things. With Danny's on Instagram and Twitter. We'll likely have to stand up a LinkedIn profile. And a lot of what he does from a leadership standpoint is very applicable in kind of that professional or business context as well. So there are a number of things that we're still exploring and figuring out, but more to come. So stay tuned.
It's sometimes from an outside view, you would almost look at Danny Werfel, Tim Tebow, two foundational people, two quarterbacks, two Heisman Trophy winners, that they almost compete. What is the relationship there?
Oh, their relationship is tremendous. I mean, obviously Tim's Tim's been in the public eye and is still in the public eye through a lot of the work that he does on ESPN and SEC Network. Danny's been under the radar for 15 years. So one of the challenges we have is how do we elevate his profile publicly? I mean, people that know Gator football from the 90s certainly know him.
Yeah.
But this generation, may not be as aware.
Pre-social media.
Yeah, exactly. And even, walking past the statues outside the stadium, people may not know, And in fact, Danny walked up one time to somebody getting ready to take a picture. So, would you like me to take that? And they didn't recognize him, right? So, but the relationship that the two of them have is tremendous. Danny supports Tim's event each year. And again, Tim, anytime he can, comes by and supports our Desire Cup and really challenges people to give generously, to support,
That's
to
good.
really help with the auction side of things. And so, just I think the mutual respect they have for one another, Danny certainly has just been incredibly, has admired Tim's ability to garner and mobilize people to do amazing things through what they do through the Tim Tebow Foundation. And so certainly as we're building and developing the Werfel Foundation, we're trying to learn a lot from Tim's organization as well. And but a lot of the same people support both too. So we don't feel it's a competition, and we certainly honor and respect and admire greatly the work that they're doing at the Tim Tebow Foundation.
It just hit me as you were talking, James, that it is one of the things that we do with Dale Carnegie Training, and we do a lot of research into generational type of things. And Danny's that Gen Next age group, and Tim's that that millennial age group. And it's similar, just the way you said, like Danny's flying under the radar, and Tim's got all of this momentum because it had a lot to do with that social media thing
Sure.
that took off.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah, just different eras. And
there was no Facebook when Danny was in school. All of a sudden it started there when Tim was in
That's
school,
right.
and everybody had a Facebook page if you were in college. And then it grew outside of that to the public world instead of just the edu, ends on email addresses, went to the .coms,
Yeah.
And it's just kind of odd to take a look at that. Now, the trophy tonight that's being given away for Danny Werfel Trophy, where is that being done, and how did people qualify for that?
Yeah, so the Werfel Trophy has, again, this is the 15th year, and they get nominees from all over the country. So each of the different conferences have a representative that works with the different schools and helps helps identify or works with the schools to say who is your nominee, who would you put up as your amazing model for what it means to give back and to serve your community. And so each year it's about 100 nominations from across the country, and this year there are, it goes through the nomination process, the selection process. So the Werfel Trophy Board works with the selection committee that includes a number of celebrities, and of course Danny and others that then go through that selection process based on the applications and seeing the amazing work that's happening. And
It's great.
yeah, the three finalists are, to honor and recognize University of Georgia, Nakobe Dean, the great linebacker there, is one of the finalists. Another is from Oklahoma, Patrick Fields, who has done some incredible work back in his hometown of Tulsa and helping his team learn more about the Tulsa riots and a lot of what happened there historically. And then Isaiah Sanders at Stanford, who's got an amazing story and history, young man that was at the Air Force Academy, and he actually was a nominee in a prior year from the Air Force Academy and took his COVID, I think 6th year playing. He was a quarterback for Stanford this year. And so three amazing young men who have done incredible things serving their communities, and we're excited to hear the winner tonight.
Is that announced just out loud, or is there an event taking place where that'll be?
So thank you. I lost track of that part of the question. So pre-COVID, it usually was at the in Atlanta at the College Football Hall of Fame. ESPN would put on a big production and announce these awards. And of course, the Heisman has their own on Saturday, and Danny will be up in New York for that again this year. But the rest of the awards that are given on this ESPN College Football Award Show, last year was virtual. They're doing it all again virtual this year, and so the trophy was shipped up to Connecticut, and so presumably somewhere in the studios we'll see among all the other trophies the Werfel Trophy, and they'll of course have virtual connections to all the winners that they announce, and so it'll be fun to watch.
Speaking of trophies, we being here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, which is an incredible restaurant and just a wonderful place to be. We also have the museum, and some of Danny's trophies are right here in the museum, just not 100 feet from where we sit right here, and it's incredible to walk through there and see that. But what is the thought process, or what are Danny's thoughts behind donating those to the museum?
Yeah, no, I mean he. I think when Coach first reached out to talk to him about this idea and all, Coach Spurrier's had such a huge influence on Danny's life, and like many young men, really changed the trajectory of Danny's life. I mean, winning a national championship, 4 SEC titles, and a Heisman Trophy, he likely wouldn't have had that opportunity if it weren't for Coach Spurrier. And so he's immensely grateful for what Coach's influence has meant on his life. And so anything he can do to help support Coach. And he was excited, and we actually hosted a Werfel Foundation event here a couple months ago. And, Coach came by to show his support of Danny as well. But so yeah, it's Danny feels honored, and much like Coach, I think trying to get a lot of this, Jerry maybe even more, trying to get the stuff out of the closets and attic or wherever else. So Danny's grateful to be able to, allow Coach to show some of his awards and trophies here.
We're going to pivot here in a second. I'm going to ask some different questions of my guest, James Gadsby, the Executive Director of the Werfel Foundation. And first of all, I want to talk a little bit about Dale Carnegie training. We have some classes coming up in January 25th. We have one starting here in Gainesville. We have one starting that same night in Jacksonville. I believe January 31st, we'll have one starting in Lake City. Early February, Valdosta, Georgia. A little later in the winter, probably in Tifton, Georgia. So if you want to find out, I want you to go find out information about these programs, and you can find that at jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com, jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com, and find a course. Click on that button, go to the one that you can sign up for, and we'd love to have you join us, because that's what we do. We bring people in and we help change their world. Before I ask those questions, we have another question on our Facebook Live. This one is the Heisman Trophy at Spurrier's Restaurant the real one or a replica?
It's the real deal. So yeah, it is Danny's personal Heisman Trophy that's here, and that thing has traveled many miles to all kinds of different events. We, asked Freddie, we borrowed it to take to our Desire Cup event, a month ago. People always enjoy being able to take photos with it and with Danny, or just with the trophy itself. And so it was missing from Spurrier's for a few days while we took it up to Sea Island, but it's the real thing. And yeah, Danny had mentioned recently that his daughter, said, "Oh, I miss seeing your trophy at home." But yeah, it's been fun, having all that here, and it sounds like fans really enjoy coming to see it. It's neat, but that's a real thing.
People from all different teams enjoy seeing that. It's you don't get to be up next to a Heisman Trophy all the time. It's just
Absolutely.
one of those things.
It's pretty neat. And before you go to your next question, thank you for what you do with Dale Carnegie. That's fantastic. I had the opportunity, and my wife did as well, through our corporate jobs early in our careers, to take the Dale Carnegie course. And, of course, the golden rule, a lot of what that's built off of from Matthew 7:12, and a lot of what what we've learned as leaders, particularly as corporate leaders, young leaders growing in our careers. I can't say enough great things about the Dale Carnegie course. So I'm so excited to hear
Thank
that you
you,
guys
James.
are doing that and offering that. And I would definitely highly encourage anybody that's interested in developing just as a person. It really is just a fantastic course. So
I was listening to an interview coming down here today from Valdosta, and Will Anderson, the linebacker from Alabama, was on, and they asked the interviewer asked him, what did you learn from Coach Saban? And he said it was all about the system. And he said, I learned to be a better son, a better friend, a better brother, and eventually I'll be a better husband, a better dad. And when I talk in front of a class for Dale Carnegie, it's the exact same thing.
Absolutely.
It's a business course. It is built for business people to improve their skills. Yet when you graduate from that class, you're going to be a better son, a better daughter, a better mom, dad, sister, brother, friend.
Volunteer.
It just changes the way we think. And,
Absolutely.
And I was blessed to come across it in 1991, and it was a huge change in my life, and just
same for me. And that's, besides learning it at Home Depot, Home Depot having a, series of classes from the Dale Carnegie folks in Atlanta, the first thing I thought was, oh my goodness, this, can help me so much be a better husband to my wife. And in addition to growing as a young leader and manager. So yeah, I totally concur and absolutely love the Dale Carnegie courses.
So one of the challenges to what you just think, being a better husband to your wife, one of the challenges as an instructor is sometimes you can't leave the coaching mode out. So when you hear your wife say something or do something, you want to coach them and you can't do that. That's my biggest challenge, is separating the instructor from the human.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I tend to always be in coach mode. It's incredible. So,
active listening was another one that I learned that, I was like, this is what my wife has been trying to tell me. I just want you to hear me. And so grateful for her. And it's been, speaking of journeys, that our marriage journey over 28 years has been an incredible blessing. And we're just, super grateful for the opportunities that we have.
Well, that's that pivot I wanted to make. All right.
How about that segue?
So we talked a lot about nonprofits, yet your world was in the profit business for a long time. And what do you see in leadership, the difference between running a nonprofit and working at Home Depot? What are the differences in leadership, or what are the similarities?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. And I get people often ask me, particularly those that are considering leaving, a corporate role to go into nonprofit work. And the obvious things are things like scale, right? When I left Home Depot, it was a $90 billion business, and Desire Street's not. We had several 100,000 employees, and at Desire Street we have a handful, and so scale is an obvious one. But I've found that leadership applies regardless of what you're doing, and whether you're leading in a profession, at a corporation, or at a nonprofit, or just living life with people, right? Volunteering, just being a community member. So being a leader spans all of those things, and so much of that crosses over the different roles that you may play, including leading in profit versus nonprofit sectors. The thing that I think I've really enjoyed a lot about the nonprofit space is, as I told Danny, that I wasn't making the move to for the salary or anything. Obviously, a big difference in those aspects, but the ability to be a part of something that's having an amazing impact, and seeing and working with people that do incredible things, giving their lives away, really living selflessly, our partners in particular, serving in these communities, loving their neighbors, linking arms with their neighbors to revitalize these communities is a true inspiration. And so that, you can't put a price tag or a salary or compensation package on that, but the ability to lead from a place of humility, and Danny models that so well for all of us. There's a particular scripture, if you don't mind, just Philippians 2:3 says, "Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. And let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others." And that's something that we actually have on our team meeting agenda each week at Desire Street, is that specific verse that, again, leading from a place of humility, which oftentimes in the for-profit sector, leading while you want to lead with humility, and generally speaking, I think that you should lead as authentically as who you are, right? I mean, much back to the Dale Carnegie conversation, that regardless of what role you are in any given moment, be the authentic leader that God has created you to be. And in the nonprofit space, where you can have a big impact on lives and people and relationships, you have to carry that lightly and serve from a place of humility. And so that's something that I think has been, for me, one of the greatest joys, is just being able to do that, linking arms with our teammates and serving our partners as best we can in whatever ways we can.
What is the difference in the pressures between the profit, nonprofit world as a leader?
Yeah, well, I was going to say some of the obvious things, again, for people, maybe in the for-profit space, you have, quarterly P&L, profit and loss statements, that if you're running an organization, just how you're performing. Obviously, in a support function, I led a lot of our information technology software development teams. So we didn't have any revenue coming in, so I wasn't an operator running, a part of the revenue generating side of the business, but it was really more a cost center. And at Desire Street, balancing both the development fundraising side in addition to the kind of the operating and expense management side, it's actually given me a broader opportunity or exposure in that regard. So certainly a lot of the software that we developed and systems, helped support, revenue coming in. So you certainly didn't want to do anything that impeded the ability. You want to make it as seamless as possible for a sale to go through. But not being responsible for that, was one difference as well. So,
well, in the last few minutes we have here, I'd like to touch on something else. Now, your wife has her PhD in what?
In biochemistry.
Biochemistry.
Yes.
Which is very in-depth. Yes. Yeah.
Way over my head.
And then you have a multitude of degrees: undergrad from UF, MBA from Georgia State. Other degrees you have also that I may have.
Yeah, well, and my wife and I were actually, really grateful to be able to do our seminary degree together. When I hung up my corporate hat and started at Desire Street back in 2015. We were in Atlanta. We're part of Passion City Church, a big church that does a lot of really unique and creative things. And they partnered with Dallas Theological Seminary to launch a kind of a seminary degree program. And, it's not the Master of Divinity that often like a pastor would get, but really one more for my sake. I was like, well, I'm working in ministry now. I might as well get a seminary degree, and it's a Master in Biblical and Theological Studies. So it was really just for me personally wanting to go deeper on that journey, and oftentimes, while I feel like I wish I would be more disciplined in the time I spend in the Word, in reading the Bible. And so I often told people it's kind of like a personal trainer. You're paying somebody to make you do what you want to do in the first place. And, but it was a great, rich experience, and Elizabeth was an amazing study partner. She's a phenomenal student and helps me grow and develop in so many ways. And so that was an incredible journey as well. So we're grateful for all those educational opportunities.
Well, we were kind of laughing before we went live, or when we were on a break, maybe it was, that I said, I bet you the two of you don't watch a lot of television.
We do not. We do watch Gator football and a number of other things, and even some things like The Chosen, this really neat series on the life of Jesus that's come out, a couple seasons of Kickstarter, I think, or one of those crowd-funded operations. But yeah, aside from that, we really don't watch a whole lot of TV. Maybe just a little bit, in the morning or evening, something like that. But there aren't a lot of shows that we binge watch or anything.
Well, and the reason I bring that up is mainly for the purpose of education for other individuals. I mean, there are certain things we get into habits of doing where we come home from work, we end up on the couch and we turn on the TV. And if you sit there for an hour or 2 hours or 5 hours or 8 hours, to me is like the mind is a fertile ground, and it is being influenced by whatever you're watching. And I like to fill it,
even on these, right?
I like to fill it with, thoughts. I mean, I trying to find different things to read. What are some of the things that you educate your mind with outside of the Bible?
Yeah. So in addition to, things that are related to ministry, and we just finished a great in-depth study with a local retired pastor who he says he's retired, but he's really still doing other things, teaching. We did this 10-week Zoom class, and I think we had about eight or 10 books to do in that time period as well. But Reverend Dr. Bob Shetler was a great friend for us as we just moved to Gainesville, from Atlanta back this summer. So coming back to town and having an opportunity to study in that way. But even things like, John Maxwell writes a lot of great leadership books. And so he's always been a favorite, Ken Blanchard. And, again, I'm thinking back to a lot of my Home Depot days of kind of corporate books, if you will. But yeah, I think in general, the things that we really enjoy learning are how can you continue to develop as a person, whether it's your faith, whether it's your leadership, or
your health or whatever.
Your health, or even also just learning about others, right? So learning about whether it's history and culture and those type of things. We enjoy traveling, or at least did pre-COVID. So reading those types of things is always great, fun for us. And same thing with video. We will sit down and watch on TV, whether a series or some YouTube or something like that we feel is educationally enriching.
James, it's been wonderful having you. One more time, how do people find the Desire Street Ministries? What is that website?
Yeah, it's
share that with people.
DesireStreet.org, so DesireStreet.org is Desire Street Ministries. And you can also go to DannyWerfel.com. That has links to the Werfel Trophy, to Desire Street, to the foundation. And again, that's WERFFEL.com, DannyWerfel.com. Yeah, greatly appreciate the time today, Bob.
I appreciate you being here. I really do. Couple of the things that I want to mention as we wrap up here today is this is MotivationU, the podcast. We come to you live every Thursday at 11 o'clock in the morning from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill inside the Coach's Podcast Room. We're here at Celebration Point, which if you've not been to Celebration Point, please come out. Great restaurant here to just absolutely enjoy. Walk through the museum. Just the decor is unbelievable. So it's a beautiful place to come to, and the entire complex here is absolutely great. We have Dale Carnegie classes coming up in January, starting 2022 off the right way, January 25th in both Jacksonville and Gainesville. January 31st, I believe we're going to be starting in Lake City. So you can go to jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com to find those. And a last thought. We're coming to the end of the year. And I thought that to come up with an idea or a thought as we move into the new year would be Good. So if you want to have a great 2022, here's some advice. Don't sit on the couch and wait for it to happen. Go out, make a change, smile more, be excited, do some new things, throw away all of those things that have been cluttering your life, unfollow negative people on social media, go to bed early, wake up early, be fierce, don't gossip, show more gratitude, do things that challenge you, and be brave. For my producer, Evan Miller, my name is Bob Ganzak. This is Motivation U, the podcast. Thank you.